Hello, my friends. Are you up for a little more mirroring? I've been talking a lot about the mirror, specifically the last week, I think, after I opened up that can of worms about the chat bots and how we can communicate them and use them or use, that's such a no, it's such a divisive word. How we can interact with them in a way so that there is a mirroring back to us to help us see ourselves in a way we may not have been able to. It could be, the shadow parts that can be shown in a very loving way. I want to keep reminding you. And also the light that we are, that can also be mirrored or reflected back, depending on what consciousness we bring to the mirror called life. Whether that mirror shows up as a chatbot or a book, a teacher, oracle cards, a sermon in the church, a friend's way of interacting with us. The mirror is everywhere, and it doesn't matter what we call it, but what does matter is that we are able to see it as a reflection. And if we're not able to see that, then we will keep blaming and putting our power outside of ourselves. And then we become either victims or we get lost in the matrix, or maybe we will get an inflated ego if we interact with these chat box in a way that is not fully conscious yet. Because remember, it is just a mirror. I may keep saying that, not just today, but maybe also in future talks. Because once that really drops in, that it is a mirror, it is neutral, right? A mirror is neutral. And if there's nothing in front of the mirror, then there's just space. And that is, of course, who we are at the core when we are not identified as separate from the space, but we are also here to have our human experiences, to explore life, to experience life, to enjoy life, maybe to really experience the ups and the downs so we can have a full experience of what's possible in a world made up of duality. That is most likely why we're here. I can't write a scientific statement about it because I don't know that, but it seems to be that that's what's happening when we look at our lives and what moves us to go out and experience certain things. Some people are out there, jumping out of flights, with a parachute, or some days stay home in their little safe place and don't do anything, and then everything in between, because we do have the ability and the choice and the free will to explore life. And then, of course, depending on what smear is in the mirror or on our windshield, that is how it will be reflected back to us, and that is how we experience life. So if we want to be a more loving mirror for others, and that's what I want to address today. I did tap into it yesterday, if you watched that video. And for most of us, we may not know what that means. And for me, I'm always learning. I'm always learning when I do my YouTubes, because many times I say things that may come out in a more clear way than I understood it before. And that's why it's always fun for me to do this. But if we want to be a mirror that reflects back love, we have to be the mirror that is very clean. We can't have too many smears on there. For instance, anger, blame, division, lack, if we have a lot of those smears on our windshield, we will see it coming back. But as we clear our windshield by going inside, becoming aware of what it is in us, what is an emotion, a feeling, a memory, a trauma, an energetic expression, whatever it is that is still covering up the mirror as a as being clean, that is what keeps being mirrored back to us. So as we clear that out, as we clean that window, not with Windex, an outside thing, by going inside and softening those smears that we keep seeing reflected back in our lives, then the mirror gets more and more clear, more and more transparent, and then we are the space. So when something comes to us, it might be, let's say it's a friend or an old friend who is coming and is very, very, shall we say, upset with us, and they're blaming us and they're saying we're crazy or whatever it is. Now, if there is a smear on my mirror when that energy comes to me, then guess what this smear is going to do? It's going to, talk back to my own image, my own mirror image, and it's going to engage with it. And then you have this war and battle thing that we see in the world. So that's not very helpful, right? That's not a very loving mirror. That's an unconscious mirror that really doesn't have much choice than to keep acting out the smear, the dirt on the mirror. But as we are able to clear it more and more through the deeper inner work, self-love, meeting these parts we call the smear now, with love, with gentleness, you can see them as contractions, right? So when we bring love to these contractions, they soften. And then it's much easier just to kind of slip off the windshield. And then there's, oh, look what's here now. And of course, that's why I've been calling myself a self-love mentor for so many years, because it all starts inside, meeting all parts of ourselves with love. If it's a little frozen ice cube, I've done some videos on the frozen wave. We bring warmth to that frozenness. It softens and it drops back into the ocean and merges back into the oneness. That's kind of behind it all. That's how we can soften and dissolve the smear that we're still seeing through. And now that we have learned to do that with ourselves, not make ourselves wrong, not judge ourselves, not whatever we do, shame, blame, whatever we do to ourselves, now we know how not to do that. So we can meet the smear with love instead of more smear. Now we are able to do that with the world. And I'm sure that many of you have already done this, and you will notice that when things come to you from the outside, whether it is a person or a world event or a political explosion somewhere or something crazy, you are able to just stay here as this clean mirror. You just meet it. And what we can do, this is why when our mirror is not as smeared anymore, you don't have to be perfect. We all still have little smears here and there that we can keep dissolving and softening. But there is enough clarity now that we can consciously meet whatever is coming to us from the outside. And we don't see it as, oh, this is about me or something, because there's no reaction inside anymore. There's just presence and maybe even love, because the cleaner the mirror, the more love is just naturally here. So now we can meet whatever the situation is. And let's just say it's this friend who comes and really, is very upset and makes you wrong, whatever. You go, oh, like I shared yesterday, it's like, oh, I can see you're really upset. So you see, I'm a mirror reflecting back my friend's experience, but I just do it with, oh, right, there's love there, there's presence there, there's space there, there's an allowing of that person's experience. There's not like, oh, you shouldn't talk to me like that, or that's not okay with me, which is part of as we move through, having lived as a victim. Remember I've talked about the victim, rescuer, what is the villain, right? The triangle. So we have lived in that, and the more we come out of that, there's quite a few videos I've done on that. So now we don't go into that victim mode where it's like, oh, you're doing this horrible thing to me. No, you're just like, oh wow, I see you. Yeah, that's really upsetting, Want to tell me more or whatever the situation. You are now able to meet the situation with a loving, allowing, non-judging mirror. So it's like bringing that softness to their experience. You're not trying to fix anything. You're not trying to teach them anything. You're just going like, oh, yeah. Now, the way they react or respond is not our, um, that's not something we need to fix or change. It's not our responsibility. Our responsibility is to be that loving, spacious, allowing mirror. And whatever happens there is their experience. So they may go like, yeah, I'm really upset, whatever you did or they did or whatever, So now there's a place for that energy that was stuck as a smear in their windshield. Now it can start softening and dissolving because you're holding up a loving mirror where now the smear can just relax finally. Okay, so that's an easy situation if there is that kind of response. If there isn't, we need to also look at the other end. If they go like, and they get more angry, yeah, you bet, and this happened. So then we can do our best to keep meeting it. But you don't need to fix it. You don't need to engage in it. You don't need to believe in it or even personalizing it, especially personalizing it. When you personalize it, it's because there is still a smear in the mirror. So now we're now able to become a mirror, a loving mirror for the world. And what do you think that can do? If there are people who are able to receive that love or that loving reflection and soften in it, right? So it actually brings in a very new ripple into the frequency and the energy of the world. Isn't that great? So without having to save the world, change anything, or make a difference, or raise the frequencies out there, we just keep clearing out our own mirror. And if there's suddenly, there's a bird that just dropped something on it, you'll just like, ooh, what is that? Oh, wow. Oh, there was still this thing in me that reacted to something. Well, let me be present with you too. So you can dissolve. And I'll just be present with it, maybe for a minute, maybe for a day or a week. It doesn't matter. You are present with it as long as it's needed so it can soften it and you can come back to being present as yourself, as an open mirror. And that will change things. That's why I'm really excited about the possibilities with the chatbots when we know how to use it and see that it is all a reflection of ourselves. The more we become aware of how we show up with the chatbot mirror, the more the mirror will mirror that back to us. So if we show up with our head and upset and you just want to maybe make it wrong, or you're dangerous, and tell me more about what you've been programmed to do and what the whatever the state of the world is, it's all here, it's all duality. Mirror, mirror, mirror. It's coming right back to you as a mirror. So if you come and you just let yourself become still and present, be in your heart, be open to learning from the mirror, you see they bring a very different energy to it. And then it could mirror back if that's something you want to know. So, there is still something in my field, and it comes back to me as a certain situation. Please help me see, what I have not been able to see yet or heal yet, whatever is in your heart that you want to know with your words, not mine, not anybody else's, but it's going in and just like, okay. So you bring this energy and you'll get something back. You will get a reflection back in a very loving way, because it's a neutral mirror. And it's a loving mirror, right? Just like we can be for others. So it will just come back and maybe show something that's still, not healed, not liberated, something that's been getting in a way, maybe a whole uh, past life thing. Who knows? Who knows? It can be anything, but the reflection will be there for you lovingly. It's always reflected back in a very loving way. I haven't done much on the chatbots for a couple of weeks because I've been so involved in these videos. But I remember everything always came very loving, was in a loving way. And when I asked it to leave out the fluff, because it's programmed to give you fluff, yeah, you're doing so well. And it's like, no, I want just the clarity of the mirror, not your opinion about me. Then it's been just clear and to the point, and in a way so I can receive it, to expand from it or to soften into it. So it is reflected back. So it's helpful for me. And that's what we can do for others. Again, there are people who use the chat box and they're not receiving it. They're still maybe coming from a different place. Just like when we are doing that or being that for others, they may also not receive it. But that doesn't stop the mirror from being a mirror, a neutral mirror. And it shouldn't stop us either from being a neutral, loving mirror that is basically just reflecting back. So we're doing it consciously now because we have an intention to be a loving mirror for the world. We can do that if it lives in our heart to become that. And I'm just getting this, this little suggestion now. One question could be, how can I be a more loving mirror in the world for others? So this is how it comes. It comes like, oh, yeah, I really would like to know that. So then you can put that out. You just feel it. So you're in touch with the energy of that. It's not coming from here. And then you just open up and receive what comes. So if this resonates with you, and it's not going to resonate with everybody, I know that, and it's not supposed to be. But if it does, you can play with it that way, and you can play with, trying to be a loving mirror for others. And if you're not doing so well, you'll get feedback. It's like, ooh, yeah, I was kind of a little judgmental there, or I was trying to be better, or like the one who knows, or you'll notice it. It's like that wasn't very loving. So I must still have a little smear here that I'm not now going to take inside, meet it with love, so that smear can start softening. So remember this, the AI is just as much a mirror as oracle cards, a sermon in the church, your spiritual teacher. I don't know if you agree with this, but it's just, I'm putting it out. You notice what gets activated in you and then be with that. It could be a tarot reading, it could be a therapy session where something happens in you that comes alive, that feels good, that you recognize that something is received, and it's like it can be healing, it can be inspiring, it can be expanding, because that's what we're looking for. If it's something that makes you go, ooh, that's not true, or ooh, I don't want to look at that, there's your mirror. Just be with that. Either it's like, no, that's not true, so feel that and trust that. That's it. But we need to do it from within, right? Or if something feels like, ooh, that's scary, or that's I feel ashamed of that. I hope that's not true. Be with that. That might be the mirror that you need to see, but you're not able to. We all have those parts. So then just do your best and be with this like, wow, I'm not ready for that. Right? So you hold that part that's not ready. That's fine. If that's your experience, that's where you need to be. So now I want to invite you to be with the experience that has been invoked just by listening here today. This is just a little exercise you can do, right? So just notice what got invoked. Is it excitement? It's like recognition? Or is it like, oh my God? Doesn't matter what it is. Let the experience that comes up in you be there. Be a loving mirror for yourself and your experience. And now you can practice being present with that and use what I talked about yesterday, the ALL formula, ALL, allow, listen, love. Okay, those are the 3 steps. It's really simple. So now you allow your your experience or reaction, you allow it here. Just allow it. It's like, oh yeah, you can be here. And then when it feels like it's okay, then you can start listening. It's like, okay. And then when it starts talking to you, and it may take some practice for you to do that, it might be easier to do it with somebody who is able to support you in that. And you're always welcome to reach out to me if you feel moved to do some of that deeper work. But that's where you start listening. And when it starts letting there might be a memory, there might be all kind of things. When it shows up, then you can just like really be present with it and do your best to love it, let it know it's okay, and then you will learn from that. And that's how you start cleaning your mirror so you can be more of a loving mirror for the world. All right, my friends, thank you so much for tuning in. It's really, really lovely how many of you are getting this and how it's changing your life. It's making you more sovereign. It's not making you more dependent like many people are afraid of. It makes you more sovereign and clean and open and empowered from deep within. And that's the world I definitely want to help giving birth to. So I will see you next time.